Hi! So tonight I'm going to be starting this gift wrapping of these gifts. Kids are in bed and I just want to get a head start on wrapping some of the stuff that has come in the mail from all of our family and things that we have ordered. So I have been contemplating on what I wanted to talk to you guys about. And then it just kind of, after, of course, recording probably 3 different 20-minute videos and trying to edit that down. Anyway, I digress. Currently, Netflix just started streaming December 4th, so what, last week? I don't have my watch on. The new Selena series came out, okay? And of course, I had to watch it. Me and my family have been talking about it, all that jazz. And I've also been talking to my husband about it a lot. He knows of Selena, but he didn't know much. So I've been kind of like filling him in on why Selena was so important. And then in doing that, it kind of, sorry, is this loud? Really made me reflect on what I love about Selena, what Selena means to me. And I was very young when she died in 1995. I was only 5 years old. She meant a lot to Mexican Americans, and she did a lot for women and Mexican American artists that came after her. It really kind of not only made me reflect on what Selena means to me, but also just different aspects of my life that I can relate to whenever I watch her movie or read about her or watch her old interviews. Or she was Mexican American, and she dealt with those 2 different sides of herself. And me being biracial, I know what that's like to have 2 different sides of yourself. And growing up, I had such an identity crisis. I mean, any of my longtime friends that have been around since I was a wee little kid, elementary school days, they know. I have one friend, she says we go way back to my Avril Lavigne stage. I really struggled with understanding what it meant to be biracial growing up, and running into people who had different opinions about that. And so that's one of the things that has really come up for me in watching Selena and talking to my husband about what the big deal was about her being Mexican American and going from being a Tejano artist to making an English album and crossing over to the American market. So that was a big deal. And for me as a kid, going through trying to understand what it meant to be Mexican American and to be Black in America, I think the biggest thing for me was I moved around a lot. And I moved around a lot, but I moved around a lot in Houston. So it's not like I was going state to state or anything. I was going from one side of Houston to the other over and over again. And so I went to school in Alief, ISD, and I went to school in Katy, ISD, and I went to school in Cypress, ISD. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the suburbs of Houston, Alief is on the southwest side of Houston, and those schools are predominantly all Black schools in lower income areas. At least they were back then when I was growing up. It was hard to identify. I was, when I went to the schools with predominantly Black kids, I was bullied a lot for being lighter skinned, and then I was asked a lot. There was always so many, not just girls, but by all of the kids, I was always asked, what are you mixed with? What are you mixed with? You have to be mixed with something. And girls just totally in my head just like feeling around my scalp, literally, like, oh, you must have tracks, you must have, they're looking for something, because my hair was long and it was straight, because my mom, being a Mexican woman, she didn't know what to do with my hair, and she just sent me to the beauty shop up the street, you know, and my woman there, Miss Doris, I'll never forget her, because she did my hair from the time I was 9 years old all the way to when I was 21, I think was the last time I saw her. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what my answer was supposed to be. Oh, what are you mixed with? And I didn't know. That had never come up for me. I had Mexican family. My father wasn't in my life. And so going home to a Mexican household and saying, these kids are telling me that I'm something, and I don't know what that means. What is that? My grandmother, bless her heart, God rest her soul, we love her, miss her. She just said to me, you know, mija, you're Mexican. I don't, you know, there was no other answer for her. And she wasn't wrong, right? I am Mexican American, and I was raised by Mexican American women. So she wasn't wrong, and I was 8. I mean, I don't know if there was a right way to answer that question, but I'm sure she probably didn't understand what was happening when I was going to school and what these kids were saying to me and all that. But anyway, so it didn't help, right? So I go to school, just imagine, I go to school and I'm, you know, here come all the girls at recess. You know, you're mixed. Did you find out what you're mixed with? Like, what's up? We know you're mixed. And just get this over with. And then I tell them, look, my grandma says that I'm Mexican. So I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, I'm Mexican. It is what it is. Can we get back to hopscotch? Like, let's move on. That was not an acceptable answer, okay? So what ended up happening was they ended up kind of labeling me as, oh, you know, she thinks she's better than us. She doesn't want to be a black girl. She's not claiming it. We all know that she's black, and she doesn't want to claim it. And that's what it turned into. So at a very young age, I just kind of denounced that. And so from there on, I was just Mexican, right? And I just didn't know how to approach being black. I didn't have any black influence in my life until, of course, I started making black friends, and then I started understanding. But somewhere in between there, I didn't really identify as a black girl because I didn't have anything to identify with. I guess I didn't have any at-home role models to teach me this black culture and what it meant to be a black girl, and that it was okay, that it was great. And then moving from A-Leaf ISD, predominantly all black schools, and then moving to Katy ISD, predominantly white schools, or then I was black, right? Because those kids were like, you're very clearly black, but we like you because you're light-skinned, or you talk different, or it was all of these, what I now know are microaggressions, right? Things that I didn't even realize were happening to me until I was older. It's kind of frustrating to think that I went to school and I kind of just, I really, at such a young age, took those things as compliments. It's, I hate that. It didn't help with me trying to still figure out who I was and what it meant to be biracial, and trying to understand, am I black? Am I Mexican? If these people say that I'm black, these people say that I'm not black. I had we did a vote in like choir or something, and it was voting for, who knows, who got to sing what Christmas song, I don't know. But there was a vote, and I specifically remember being told by one of the Black girls that my vote didn't count because I'm not all Black. It's things like that that really stick with you when you're a kid, especially when you're so young and you're trying to identify with someone. I struggled for a long time, probably till about maybe high school, just before high school, because I had my first 2 boyfriends like in 8th grade, and my first boyfriend was a white boy, and I saw, like, I really saw it in my face, like really bad racism, just hateful racism. I remember his brother called him the N-word, lover. His brother called him that, and his parents, they didn't want me to, you know, come in their house, and they just were 1000% not supportive of him having a girlfriend. And we were in 8th grade. Like, everyone held hands in 8th grade and said, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, we're gonna be together forever, right? So it wasn't even that serious. And I had met his parents prior to that. He was on the football team, and they were nicer than ever, until he asked me out and, you know, wanted to go to the dance with me, and wanted to go to Funplex. Okay, if you're from Houston, you know what I'm talking about. He wanted to go to Funplex with me and Astro World. Okay. And his parents weren't having it. And I just remember thinking, wow, now I know what I would call like a closet racist, someone where they're real nice and everything, they're seemingly great people until you bring it into their household, until one of their children is involved with one of those people, and then their true colors show. I think that's really unfortunate. But so anyway, he was my first boyfriend, and then moving on from there, I dated, I had a Black boyfriend, and that was a completely different experience. And it was, and it was then that I was kind of more accepted, right? In everyone's eyes, into the Black community. Then I was accepted, because then people were like, oh, okay, so she doesn't hate Black people, she just happens to also like white people. Now looking back on it, such an awkward experience to be so young and like dealing with all those different things from so many different sides. That's the part of it that I try to get people to understand whenever we talk about these things, and me being biracial, or anyone being biracial, is maybe other people didn't have the experiences that I had, but I was excluded for being biracial, for being light-skinned, for not being all Black, and then for not being all Mexican, you know, because that's an issue too. I don't speak fluent Spanish. I can write it. I learned really well how to write in Spanish, how to pronounce in Spanish, but I don't speak it fluently, and I understand it a quarter of the time when someone's talking to me, if they slow it down enough and really are patient with me so that I can understand make out what they're saying. So I'm not very good at it at all. And I have been welcomed, you know, we can be friends. And then, you know, I hang out with them, and then all of a sudden I don't speak enough Spanish, so then I'm totally excluded there. So I've been excluded from all of these different communities at such a young age. It's no wonder I had such an identity crisis trying to figure out who I was. And now I'm proud to be Mexican American, non-fluent in Spanish. And tying back to Selena, that was one thing. She could sing in Spanish, but she couldn't speak fluently in Spanish for a long time. And she was kind of learning as she went along, and it still wasn't perfect. And she was still so loved and so accepted into the Mexican American community and in Mexico. Everyone loved her because she was talented and beautiful and just smart and amazing. She was the whole package. Understand that there's nothing wrong with being biracial. I think the way that I overcame was that in the midst of so many negative comments and people judging me for this or that, or not accepting me for this or that, I still made friends, and I still had people come into my life who didn't even mention it, you know, because it wasn't an issue. That is what it was like growing up for me, being biracial and being in a home where I didn't really have any Black representation. So thank you, all of my Black, beautiful girlfriends who showed me the way, because y'all were my representation. You know, when I was in high school, I joined the step team, and it was so amazing. And I don't think that all those girls that were on the step team with me, who I still see every day thriving on social media, living their best lives, I don't think that any of them really understand how impactful their friendships and their time were to me at that point in life, because it was one of the first times that I was really, really accepted by Black girls in all their magic. And it was just so great. I don't know where I would be without that experience at all. I really, really found myself, and I just kind of evolved from there. And now I'm proud to be Mexican American, not fluent in Spanish whatsoever. I'm proud to have all this Black girl magic, and I cannot wait to explain to my children how awesome it is to be multiracial. So if you have anything to add, leave me a message, go to my Instagram, send me a DM, whatever it is, reach out, because I think it's important for all of us to share our experiences, especially during difficult times. Sometimes that's all we need, is to know that we are not going through this drama that is life all on our own. I am not the best at wrapping gifts, you guys. It's really one of my least favorite things to do, but I did enjoy doing it while having this conversation. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I look forward to doing more. Bye.